Now we are going to create the authentication service, which is going to be used to do the login process. Okay, so let's go back to VS Code, and there over here I'm going to create a new folder called services. In that, now I'm going to create the this kind of service functions. Okay, so the first service function which we are going to create over here is the auth service. This will basically use for the authentication as well as the registration. So auth service dot js. Okay, so let's create the React functional component. Okay, so my functional component is ready. Okay, so here in this particular service we are not going to render anything, so I'm just removing this code, right? And what we are going to do, we are going to implement few of the functions. Let's say that the first function that we are going to implement is the login. Okay, so let login. Okay, and the argument would be to, that is a username comma password, right? And once the login is once that login is would be called, at that time what should be done, that we are going to write over here. Okay, means that whenever the user will initiate this login function, then what will happen? Okay, so we are going to basically we are going to call the this axios. Okay, so let's create one common url over here that would be used in every axios. So constant url is equal to, let's say, http colon localhost. As the application is running on the same machine, that's why I'm writing this localhost, otherwise this would be different. Okay, so localhost colon 8080 slash our uh, authentication URL is like this. Okay, so if you can recall in the our backend, that when we had implemented this that user controller, at that time we had specified this URL could be used by the other application to perform the authentication with the backend. Okay, so that is what we have used over here, that is authentication. Okay, now that here I'm going to call the axios. So axios dot the HTTP method would be post, right? And here the URL would be the URL which we have declared, right? And the username and password that I am going to pass in the curly brace, like username comma password, username comma password, right? Okay, once the response would come. Okay, so what we are going to do, that the response, from the response we are going to check the, so response we are going to get over here, and we are going to check that if the response contains tokens, that is response dot data dot token. Okay, in that case, that will be storing the user related information into the local storage. So let me write that local storage, the argument would be of type user comma json dot stringify. Okay, and the data would be json dot data. Okay, right? So and then we are going to return the response dot data once this is done. Okay, so let me write the response dot data. Okay, I forgot to write return, so let me write return response dot data. Okay, now let me write the semicolon over here. Sorry, a mistake here, that I must have to return it from this curly brace. Okay, yeah, Okay. Hmm. Returning a response dot data, and also we are going to have the function of the logout over here. So whenever user will click on the log and that logout, at that time this should be called. Okay, so we are yet to implement that logout. Okay, so logout function, and we are going to remove the record from the local storage. So local storage, remove item, which item? That is a user. Okay, and then we are going to, let's implement the functionality of the register itself over here. So register, okay, and register, okay, and here the user registration information would come. So I'm just writing user registration, okay, and then from this user registration we are going to send everything from the using the Axios. Okay, so return Axios dot post, the URL would be there, the URL, okay, and URL would be having the endpoint, that is register, okay, followed by user register registration details. Let me have that details. Okay, so this is proper name. Let me copy and paste it over here. Yeah, I think this is enough for the authentication service. Okay, so we are done with this particular module. Okay, so I will see you in the next video.